Have you ever wondered why some people just seem to get richer and richer, while others, no matter how hard they work, feel like they're just spinning their wheels? Well, that is the huge question at the center of Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which pretty much flipped everything we thought we knew about money completely upside out. So let's dive into the simple but super powerful ideas that might just change the way you think about your finances for good.
So what is the secret sauce? According to Kiyosaki, it's really not about how much you're earning or what fancy school you went to. No, it boils down to something way more basic than that, your financial mindset. And that mindset, it's usually shaped by what we learn, or more importantly, what we don't learn growing up.
The whole book is built around this amazing story of Kiyosaki's two dads. First, you have his poor dad, that was his actual father, a super smart academic, highly educated. Then there's his rich dad, who was his best friend's father, an entrepreneur who actually dropped out of school. Now, both of these men were successful in their own right, but financially, they were on completely different planets. One left behind a legacy of wealth, and the other, well, he left a pile of unpaid bills.
And this is where you really see the clash, right? Their whole philosophy on life and money was completely opposite. Poor Dad preached that traditional path we've all heard: get a good education, get a secure job, and work for your money. Rich Dad's lesson was the total opposite. Learn how money actually works so you can make it work for you. It's a huge difference. It's the difference between being a slave to your paycheck and actually finding real financial freedom.
So what was the number one most important lesson that Rich Dad ever taught? You might think it's some complex investment strategy, but it's not. It was a secret so ridiculously simple that most people just completely miss it. And it all comes down to knowing the difference between two very simple words. Okay, first up, an asset. And you can forget all that complicated Wall Street jargon. Rich Dad's definition is just beautifully simple. An asset is anything that puts money into your pocket. That's it. It is all about cash flow. If it's generating income for you, it's an asset, period. And on the flip side, you've got a liability. And you guessed it, this is anything that takes money out of your pocket. Sounds simple, right? But this is where Kiyosaki says most of us make a massive mistake. People spend their entire lives buying liabilities, like fancy cars or even the house they live in, thinking they're buying assets. This quote right here just nails it. Having a huge salary doesn't make you wealthy if all that cash is just flying out the window to pay for liabilities. The rich get rich because they use their income to buy assets, and then those assets make more income. It's really not about what you make, it's about what you do with it.
And this focus on buying liabilities, it leads straight into what Kiyosaki famously called the rat race. You know the feeling, that exhausting, never-ending cycle of working just to pay the bills. It's a trap that keeps people stuck financially, even if their paycheck gets bigger and bigger.
Let's just walk through how this thing works. You get a job. You start making money. Great. So what do? Maybe you buy a nicer car. That's a liability. Then you get a raise. So you buy a bigger house. Another liability. Your expenses just magically rise to meet your income. And now you've got to work even harder just to cover everything. And that wheel just keeps spinning, faster and faster.
And here's the real kicker. More money will not fix this problem. Kiyosaki says that money just pours gasoline on your existing financial habits. So if your habit is to spend everything you earn, a bigger paycheck just means bigger spending, and usually bigger debt.
So how in the world do you get out of this trap? Well, Rich Dad's solution is kind of radical, but it's also really simple. Mind your own business. Now hold on, this doesn't mean you have to quit your job tomorrow and launch a startup. It's about a fundamental shift in where you put your focus.
Here's the idea. Your profession, your job, that's what pays the bills. But your business, that's what builds your wealth. Your business is your asset column. So you keep your day job, but you start using that income to buy assets, not more liabilities. Your main focus shifts to building up that asset column one piece at a time.
So what are we talking about when we say real assets? Well, Kiyosaki gives a bunch of examples. You've got businesses that you own but don't have to be there running every single day. You've got stocks, bonds, real estate that's actually paying you, like rental properties. Even things like royalties from a book or a patent. The key to all of these is that they generate income for you passively. This is the engine that's going to power your escape from the rat race.
So when you boil it all down, the book is really arguing that building wealth isn't about being a math whiz or knowing some secret stock-picking formula. The biggest hurdles we face aren't technical at all, they're psychological. It really comes down to mastering the two emotions that drive most people's money decisions, fear and desire. Rich Dad had this killer diagnosis for why so many people just stay stuck. It's this quote right here. The fear of losing money is just so much more powerful for most people than the excitement of winning. That fear is what keeps people clinging to the idea of job security, and it stops them from taking the kind of smart, calculated risks you need to take to become financially free. Getting over that fear, that's the first real step.
And that all brings us to this one final question, which is really the soul of the entire book. It makes you take a hard look at your own financial life, your own habits, your own mindset. Are you actively building that asset column? Or are you just working to pay your bills? Because when it comes down to it, your journey to wealth doesn't start with your next paycheck. It starts with your very next choice.